Welcome to Power Women of the Trades podcast. This show is all about breaking barriers and changing the game. Our guests will feature some of today's most successful female entrepreneurs and other advocates of our industry as well. Because if there's one thing we know for sure, female-led entrepreneurship drives change on multiple levels. We want to empower women in the trade industry like you so you can maximize your potential, stay balanced, achieve long-term success, and claim ownership over your life. Let's get started.
Hey everyone, it's Leslie and Cassie here with Power Women of the Trades podcast. And we are so excited today because we have a close friend here in OKC and actually a competitor of mine, Stacy Fore with Triple Play Home Services. Stacy.
Hey, hi.
Thanks for being with us.
We're so excited. Oh. This is like
our new setup. She's getting
rolling
out with us.
Yeah, break the ice with us on this. And I'm so excited because this is like 3 years in the making.
And the first time we have physically met in person.
I know.
You two,
crazy.
as competitors in Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
I've met Stacy several times, but never in Oklahoma City, always out of state.
Yeah, we had to travel to see each other.
Of course.
That's how Leslie and I's
typical.
relationship started at first too. But I think we saw each other in Vegas. Vegas twice.
It's
Vegas twice, a couple times. Remember all the events that were in Vegas forever. So Stacy, tell our guests who you are, because we know who you are. Tell us who is Stacy Fore? Well, who are you with? Where'd you come from? What do you do in the industry? All the things.
All the easy questions.
Yeah.
Okay. So I am one of the co-creators, as Leslie puts it, of Triple Play Home Services. We've been in Edmond for 15 years now. Started out doing heat and air. Regrettably, I don't know, I say that, but anyways, we added plumbing a couple of years ago. It's been a struggle. Thank God you guys are my friends.
No one go on record of who told her to add plumbing. And I will never admit it. I was like, Stacy, you have to add plumbing.
And then like 9 months later,
we were
after
both
I started it, she messaged me. She's like, have you added it yet? Because it sucks.
It's not that it sucks.
And it's all I know.
That's all you know. No. It's so funny though, because I knew was HVAC, all Stacy knew was HVAC, and plumbing doesn't. It's just so everyone.
Well, you guys always say plumbers are more dramatic.
They are.
So you agree with this because she has always said this, and it's all we know.
I think my plumbers agree with that statement too. If you guys are listening, I love you. They know I love them.
So funny.
It's just different.
Okay.
And I think the problem, not even the problem. Yeah, the problem. We expected it to not be different.
Right.
Because it's like, because I even said it one day, I'm like, if he can run ductwork and you're running PVC in the same attic, why is it so much different? It is.
So what's different? Is it a relational difference, a communication difference? Like,
I think it's just the culture of the trade, the tradesmen through the years.
I gotcha.
Because it's just been different. And I don't think that's not their fault. It's just how everyone was trained and taught. And it's just the difference in the culture.
Yeah, so I think that what I found was, by the way, Stephanie Postel also told me, plumbers are very diva-fied. They're
she's
divas
probably
compared
said
to
that
HVAC.
Too. She's probably said that too.
So it wasn't just you, Cassie. Like, you were right. She was right. I also, by the way, if my plumbers are watching, I also love you. But I've been through many to get to the ones that I love.
This is such a fascinating topic for me because I have no experience. I mean, we will be soon, but y'all, this is a common thread I hear.
Okay, but wait, because what's going to happen is wait and watch. Right now, your plumbers are fantastic. You love them, maybe, right? But when you add HVAC, you're going to say what we are saying about HVAC. And so I don't necessarily think that it's that they're divas or they're this or that. It's just different and you expect them to be the same. So you expect them to be the same. And I agree with you. We had to go through many to get, we have the best plumbing team. And I'm not saying that to cover for saying that they're divas. I genuinely believe we have the best plumbing team that our company has ever seen. Yeah. But it took us
4 years.
Do you feel like you have more turnover with plumbing than HVAC?
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
But initially, while you were leveling out?
Yeah, because initially when we were hiring plumbers, not anymore, when we were hiring plumbers initially, and Stacy, I don't know if this was right for you.
We just got right into
we were
it,
hiring. We did. We jumped into the meat. I like it.
We went from look at our new setup to plumbers are dramatic. You never know where it's going to go.
And please, my plumbers are going to go on strike. Don't. I love them.
I don't think ours would.
No, I think they would agree. But
Yeah.
I think our plumbers also, and I've had this conversation with them. We had turnover in plumbing initially because we were hiring people with less experience of companies like ours. And so they were
the
more...
expectation was different.
Yes, they were looking for in and out, not providing a solution, not providing the whole
Turn and
experience. Turn and burn plumbers. And now that we have the true plumber that is there and can follow like our core value of providing solutions for the customer, we're in a much different scenario. But it definitely at first, but that I still kick back to the culture of plumbing in Oklahoma for a long time.
That's so it's such an interesting topic. And I do feel like I can say that because I'm married to a plumber.
Yeah.
See, that was the problem though. So yes, exactly what you just said. Like we were bringing in plumbers that had not been trained in the industry like the three of us train our staff. But also a little bit that was on Mike and I because Mike's not a plumber.
Yep.
So, like Cassie does, I have to. We have plumbers that work for us that are the license holders. And, just because you know HVAC
challenge.
doesn't mean you know plumbing. Not all
Right.
piping is the same, right? And so I think I didn't know plumbing. I'm too old and too tired to learn a new trade. What I know is HVAC inside and out. And so I couldn't give them the same connection that I had to my HVAC techs.
Sure.
I didn't have the same love of that trade.
Right.
And so a little bit of that, not every plumber that came and has gone was a bad plumber. They should know
Right.
that.
Yeah. Right.
A lot of that was on me
On
and
us
Mike.
too.
We didn't know how our price book should be done. And the first contractor we had was the worst.
She's like, I will put that on record.
The worst. It's on record. He's the worst. I'm glad he's gone. He doesn't even live in this state anymore. And I now have the most amazing plumbing contractor ever. And he also is a mechanical contractor, which is odd because he doesn't know anything about HVAC, but he took the book test.
Back in the day in Oklahoma, it was combined.
Yeah,
right?
not his, but
Okay.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it was one
I think
license.
I agree with you on that too, because for the longest time, and I am very intentional about not doing this anymore, but for the longest time when speaking to a plumber in our company, I would say, well, we do it like this in HVAC, or we do it like this in HVAC. And then I had to keep reframing that of like, so quality does it this way, because you're right. I have 10 years experience in HVAC, but not in plumbing. And then, but I have 20 something years experience in people management, and I never expected it to be such a difference.
Oh, I'm a certified coach and I still couldn't talk to them right. I would find myself saying during training, like, okay, so when you're building your options, make sure that you have to change a cap every time you do a fan motor. And all these examples were HVAC, HVAC. And I would look at the plumbers and I would think, I don't know the example to give you. I'm so sorry. So I had to force myself to learn a little bit of plumbing. And now what I do is I just take my most senior plumber and I say, hey, can you now give the plumbing examples that need to happen?
So, and a lot of it though, I still kind of, and again, put back on that plumbing culture, Oklahoma plumbing culture, because it almost makes me sad that these guys didn't have that same experience and trainings. I mean, well, and look at it, guys. We don't even have a plumbing school in Oklahoma anymore. And I think they're working on one in Tulsa, but it's not open yet. And so they didn't have all of that attention. And so some of them, like, we have some amazing plumbers. Do you know?
Yeah, one VOTEC.
We have
on
one
our
VOTEC, yeah.
But that's it, and how many heat and air schools are there? And they just weren't getting that same experience of the trade. And that's why in Oklahoma, we don't have a lot of licensed plumbers.
It's mostly generational, it's taught.
Well, someone told me one day that exactly was, well, I learned plumbing from my uncle who
did it this way. Right. So not only did they learn the skill, they learned the emotional and mental part that person attached to that skill.
But all the uncles died.
Yeah.
And nothing, what did we do? What did Oklahoma do to carry on the plumbing trade? Because that's a vital piece of our infrastructure or life,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
And so that's where, I think we have to take pride and help them.
You know what you're going to experience though, Leslie, I think, is you're going to get the new generation of HVAC techs.
Yes.
And they're very different than old school HVAC techs.
And we can call them divas too.
We can call them divas as well.
Yes, the new school
ones
HVAC
that
techs, yes.
like want off at 5, forget on call.
I want off at 5 too.
I know. That's what I tell them all the time. They're very different than old school, get it done, run 10 calls a day, just help the customer. But they're better trained in more thorough service, better options, taking their time and relationship building than old school techs were. So there's a balance. I think you'll find that you're going to get all the new school techs. So we should help you figure out no on-call shifts to offer.
Right. Yeah, we don't do on-call or weekends. I want to take it back. Stacy, you have field experience.
Yeah.
So start from the beginning of how you fell into this, what that looked like, because you had field experience. Now you're an owner. You're running a huge, big, successful business with Mike. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I was never an HVAC before we started the business. So I've always started out as an owner in that sense, right? But Mike worked in the union in California. We moved out here for my job. I built off campus student housing across the United States. And he decided, he worked here for a couple of companies. He didn't like them. He finally was able to take his contractor's test. So he did. And he said, I'm going to start a company. And I said, I'll keep my day job for like a year and see how this goes, right? I did. He did really well. He used to take my college students and use them as like install helpers for the day, just to help, lift the equipment and stuff. And it got to the point where he couldn't keep up with the call volume. And we were still like a year into this, so nothing big. So I said, okay, well, maybe I should take my talents of operations and move it over to the business side. And this was in 2009. So this was like before the CRMs were really out there. He had taken an appointment book like my grandma had, who was a hairdresser, and he was penciling in his addresses. And in the field I was in, we had electronic lease signing for years. So I was like, oh, I can't do this. This is not how my brain works. So we just built it from there. But what I figured out in the first year was that I didn't know what I was talking about. And that is not who I am. I have 2 degrees. I cannot stand not knowing what I'm talking about when I'm supposed to be helping somebody on that subject, right? I can be the dumbest person in the room if I'm not expected to know anything. Right. And so I decided, okay, I've got to go in the field. So I went in the field and I was Mike's apprentice while I was answering phones and writing in that.
How is that though? Because we look at it now because we talk about one of the things you said earlier. Let's talk about how we get along with our husbands at home, but want to trip them at the office. So how was that being his apprentice?
Well, it was interesting. He now... So he could not talk to me the same way he talked to his other apprentices.
Oh, I bet.
And you could see the look on his face sometimes. I didn't know all the tools back then. And Mike is the most disorganized person known to man, except for his tool bag. And Lord help the person who doesn't put the pliers back where they go or the crimps back where they go. And he says he does that because he wants to be able, if he's on a job by himself, to reach behind in his bag and know exactly where to grab the tool that he needs, which I appreciate. But he would look at me sometimes like, what did you just hand me? But that would not have been what he said to the apprentice that maybe wasn't me.
Right.
Yeah. So he had to be very patient with me. It was an interesting ride. Yeah.
Oh, I bet it was because, I just think, I think about Oscar because he's always said like, his tool bag is like his surgery bag, right? And he and he's always trained apprentices to be able to know the tool that he needs next. So it's already, I relate because I went to school to be a dental assistant. Never did that, by the way. But so I relate to that because we were trained that we had to know that tool to be able to hand it. And so that's how they train. But I know how that goes when my kid's getting his tool bag and don't put things back in the upper right second pocket.
Yeah. You know, that's what he said. He said, if you apprentice for me for more than a few months, you should know what I need next, or you're not learning this
or you're
job. You're not paying attention.
Literally, Oscar literally says the same thing.
Yeah.
He's like, you're not paying attention. You have to because it's step by step. So he gets so aggravated when we start training someone and they have been in the front seat for with someone else for like 6 months. And then you try to like push them up on their own a little bit. And they're like, he's like, so where's your meter? And he's like, in the truck. And he's like, what do you mean in the truck? You know?
Yeah, a lead's responsibility is to train the person that is helping them. And I joke with my senior guys that have been with me for years and years. They know this now. That apprentice is not really your tool bitch. They really are. You are in charge of training them.
Yep.
And if you ever want to move up, train your replacement. Or you're staying where you're at.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
That's totally.
There's definitely, that's a mentality we have to fight with our, on our install team, the lead, and then the apprentice. They're not just to run errands for you, right?
Oh, yeah.
There
has to be an education there.
This week we had, because it's so hot, we had some of ours extra guys that maybe weren't on a job set in the front seats of tech vans just as like moral support, if anything. It's hot.
In case someone fell down and they needed to get them.
It's so hot. And, but I was like, number one, we're trained. It's hot. So like we're training, but we're not like taking too much time right now. Number two, they're here to help, but they're also not just like, you're not pointing and because the new generation is a little different. So the training's different.
Well, what they'll learn this last couple of weeks is how to survive the heat and keep going from their leads. They may not learn a lot of the technical stuff, but they're going to learn how to keep working through the heat and how to properly take care of themselves during that time.
I remember when we were starting out, we started out in new construction, and Brent, of course, he was out in the field in this heat. He would come home at the end of the day. And by the end of the summer, he was like 120 pounds soaking wet with like dark circles under his eyes.
And he looks like a raisin that's like shriveled up.
Oh, like, so sad. Yeah. We had a job. This is a little bit of a sidebar, but I know y'all appreciate this. So we were doing a job this week. We don't work for contractors or any other contractors, but one got by us and someone was putting in a pool. So we were rerouting a sewer and some water mains, but we were dealing with a contractor. Well, we get a call from our dig team, and they were digging the pool at the same time and had dug a pool. Like, we're out there digging, would not move their equipment. And so Brent had to go. I can't think of the last time this happened. He had to get in his truck and go deal with another contractor and like literally almost got in a fist fight. And I'm like, I feel like this is because it's 105 degrees outside.
Yeah. And there's people.
We're not acting right. It's so hot.
And there's so many emotions. We have.
But disrespect. I mean, he was like very disrespectful to our team. They were hand digging in 105 degree temperatures. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is the heat because Mike has been. Okay, he loves being in the field. I thought I took him out of the field completely for a couple of years because I gave away all his tools. But
he got antsy.
Somehow he
acquired new
ones or acquired
it's
other
weird
people's
how that
used.
happens, right?
Yeah, so now he's been running CA work. We have a CA, but it's been so hot we needed two. So Mike's been running CA.
It.
Well, he's so good at sales. Like that's just what the guy's good at.
Yeah.
So he's been running the late night shift of the turns from the techs when they're at like 8 and 9 o'clock at night so that Kobe can go home and be with his family. But so we went out to one the other night, sells the job. The next day, our installers start at 6:30 in the morning so they can get in and out, The next morning at 6 o'clock, the lady calls and she's like, I don't know, here's the story, right? I don't know. I've been looking on Google and they're like $5,000. Anyways, he went through that part. We'll fast forward through that part. So we get there, we do the install. My guys are in that attic all day long. And it's, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 in the afternoon. And we had put portables in the night before down there for him as everyone usually does. And so my guys go down there to get the portables out and to take them. And she's belligerent screaming at my staff.
Why?
I mean, just, I think she was hot and drunk, girl. Oh. and neither was helping, but she was really mean. And I have the nicest installers. Like they don't have a mean bone in their body. And so my install manager was out. He calls Mike, and Mike says, just leave the portable. I'll deal with her in the morning.
Can y'all tell me what a portable is?
Like
just a portable AC.
air conditioner.
Yeah.
For the homeowner or for the techs working?
The homeowner.
The homeowners. We leave them overnight so that they're cool while they wait the next day.
Okay.
So anyways, Mike went and dealt with her the next day, and she
You think because she didn't want you guys to take those back, or she thought they were hers, or
I just
what?
think she was drunk and hot.
It's so funny. We had something similar.
Well, there's always more crime in the summer. My brother will always say that.
Oh, yeah. We had someone similar. It's so funny. Like, it's just the heat. But we had someone we had a manager that called, and when I answered the phone and she was crying, I thought, what happened? Because
The manager was crying?
Yes.
Oh.
And so I'm like, what's wrong? And she's like, I can't do it. And our installers were there and we're trying to get everything started up, and it just wasn't fast enough for this customer. And he started screaming at at the installers. They went to the truck. And so the manager tried to call to diffuse of like, hey, we're trying, we have to be able to get in to do our job. And he just, the words that he said to her, and it hasn't happened very often in a long time. But Oscar walked out on the back porch because we were home, and Oscar called the customer and said it takes us a lot less time to uninstall than it does to install. And the police will be on their way and to make sure that we get our equipment, and we will be out of your property in 45 minutes. And he was like, oh, I don't want you to do that. And he's like, okay,
what in the world?
But it took because
he's so calm too.
And if he goes,
he's like the silent one you have to worry about that's not talking.
And if he goes on the back porch, it's over. You know,
he's down to clown when he gets on the back porch.
It's done. And I was like, I'm gonna stay in here. But it's just wild. It's like such a weird. And so I keep saying like the environment's weird.
It's a weird
like
time
we're is the world off kilter a little bit. It's hot, but people are still like I think that a little bit we've lost respect for each other.
No, a lot of it.
Well, a lot of it is so cutthroat. I mean,
it is.
It can be. And so I think that just creates a mentality even when you're in a customer home. I mean, it just feels fragile right now. I don't know.
Okay, so
maybe that's because I'm being attacked. I don't know.
Maybe
No,
so.
it's fragile in people's homes right now. The trades have shifted in people's homes, and there's so many factors. Obviously, the heat and HVAC, or even in plumbing, it's probably not great. And when it's hot outside and your whole house is backed up either, that's just another problem.
It's different than what you guys experience. If
their heat is out and their house is backed up,
right?
Then there are all kinds of mad. But I just think that we've gotten to a place. I don't know. It's really sad.
Relationships don't matter anymore. Okay, so that kind of segues me to the next thing here, because I have dealt here recently with something that really was frustrating. Having a friendship with another local contractor at our in our area, and so I just think it goes back to
don't have friends.
Don't just relationships in general. Where have we gone as a society and as a world that relationships just don't freaking matter to anyone anymore? And so with you and Leslie, for example, being friends and being competitors, never, ever, ever. And I know knowing you, that never, ever, even though you've had a relationship through communication for 3 years, but you've never actually physically touched and hugged each other till today.
I know, right? It's a special day.
But
and Stacy put on a dress for me. I'm really special.
Yeah.
You would never recruit her people.
No.
Or vice versa.
Or you would never recruit her people.
It's probably happened, but it's never been, we don't recruit like that. But there has been a time when I've seen on your TikToks, I'm like, oh, we work for Champion, but I just think we don't care. I mean, not that we don't care about our business, but what you experienced is very different than I've never had. Because I think we are all susceptible in plumbing. There's always been a turnover in plumbing. They go from shop to shop to shop. What's harder is if you are a premium provider and you have accountability and expectations, it's a higher turnover for us because of the culture that you're talking about.
I think it's a totally, turnover. And you see that where maybe someone who used to work for you is working there, but that happened organically because they walked in.
Well, listen, we had Brett, right? So Brett,
I was going to ask you about him the other day.
Yeah.
I haven't heard anything.
I mean, I've heard he's okay.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this guy comes to work for me. Didn't put down that he'd worked for Champion at all, right?
And that happens.
I think there was the major plumbing company in town that he had worked for. And so it did. And so we put his congratulations, welcome to Triple Play photo.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And Leslie texts me. She's like, how's he doing?
Well, no, he was supposed to start that day with us.
Yeah.
That I forgot about that.
Yeah. And so I didn't know. And I said, oh, tell me all about it, right? And so I went to him. And I said, hey, I just want to let you know that Leslie and I are really good friends. And I didn't know that you knew Brent, and I didn't know that you had used to work for them and that you were going blah, blah, blah. So just so you know, everyone knows it's a small world, right? It's a small world. Even in HVAC, like my sister she used to work for us, went to work for OG&E's HEAP program.
Yep.
You know my sister.
Met her through
and
that.
then she now works for John McKelvey down at Home Comfort Solutions. We're very good friends with them. He asked me if I knew anyone who was looking for office work. And I referred her. And we're still friends, and it still works.
Yeah.
And her husband, my brother-in-law, is a plumber for me. Like, it's just a world.
Yeah.
So this goes back to this whole subject about we can love each other, we can support each other, we can be kind, and still have really successful, great businesses.
100%.
Maybe even more so because we do that.
we are kind and we have the friendship. But
I just look at it like there's enough plumbing for everybody.
Absolutely.
That's why us being someone's attacking us on our Google profile right now, and it can only be a competitor. That's just karma I don't mess with.
And I've always said the exact same thing. There are enough right here where we are sitting in Oklahoma City.
And anyone can be sold. This is what I'm saying. The loyalty is not what anybody thinks anymore. And I think as owners, we get in our head that people should and cannot leave us. And they can go wherever they want to go if it works for them, because that's where faith comes in, right?
Absolutely, but don't be dirty. Don't be dirty about it, because people absolutely go wherever.
That's why I think it's crazy. Y'all say plumbers are more divas, because I hear you talk about some things you've experienced with owners, and I'm like, that's crazy.
That's so cutthroat. Because you're right, but it's a different frame, because HVAC was all we knew. Plumbing's all you've known.
Right.
For me, though,
maybe
like
it
you
happens
said,
and I just don't know about it here.
Like you said, it's like people are going to go and people are going to do whatever. But if you have that relationship with someone, you just don't do that,
right.
And you don't like
I don't even know how it happens. Is it on Facebook? Is it?
In my scenario, it was just direct phone calls.
Just phone calls?
But direct phone calls and recruitment. And it's actively still happening. But to me, it's like when you go to bed at night, you got to deal with that, And the other thing is like you were saying, there's so much work, like not even on my radar, because where we're sitting right now in Oklahoma City, we could all three open up a new company, and there is enough work for all three of us to have separate businesses in just a 4-mile radius of where we're sitting.
This has been Power Women of the Trades. Like what you hear so far? Leave us a review in Apple, and make sure to listen to our other episodes wherever you enjoy listening to your podcasts. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.